It's the Montessori Power Hour. I'm David Hargis.
And I'm Aubrey Hargis. We've got an especially helpful show for you today. We are going to be talking about screen time. Or is it scream time? We'll talk about how to make it work for your family or not. If you choose to forego all the screens altogether, we'll see what ends up after this conversation. We're also going to be talking about why we love homeschooling our kids, because we get to spend so much time with them. And we have an activity to share with you from a very seasonally appropriate theme of buns.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that in a minute.
Yeah.
But first, I feel something coming on. What is it?
It's the mail.
It's the mailman.
Or one of these days we're going to change it to it's the mail woman.
It's the mail. Yeah, but it's the delivery carrier. Doesn't work as well.
Okay, so
Postal.
yes, so the mail did arrive, and in our community, and I'm going to read it out loud here. So this mail says it's from one of our members, Karina. It says, "Dear child of the Redwoods, I have trouble with my son wanting to play on the computer or watch TV rather than do any school." And the word school is in quotes, which is so
Scare
interesting. Quotes. Yes, is in school, right? Because we know schoolish stuff is technically more important than other things. All right, like there's kind of like a question mark there, right? I agree with those quotation marks. School. He's a neurodivergent, almost 5-year-old, and loves all things vehicles and machinery, especially farming. His dad introduced him to a farming simulator game. Sounds cool.
Yeah.
But she wrote but I'll put but. He would literally play it and watch people play it all day if he could. However, the more time he spends on it, the less movement and sensory input and parental connection, etc. he gets, and this leads to all manner of issues. You can imagine those issues. I know we experienced a lot of those issues ourselves. So she says, unlimited access is not an option. She says, I tried that, and having multiple small sessions per day, which would be another very common recommendation, which is like to designate small sessions per day. She says that approach seems to make him constantly ask for the game. Right. She says, I don't really want to remove it altogether because he loves it and it's right there in his special interest zone, but we can't keep having it take over our entire lives. What's the Montessori approach to limiting these kinds of things in a healthy way? Right. This is such, there's so much to unpack in here that we can talk about. But first, I want to tell Karina out there, like, we get you on this 100%.
For sure.
We have not only been there the first time with a young child, but we've been there again and again and again and again. In fact, as parents of teenagers, we are still there, still navigating these issues with our own kids. And we have tried many techniques. Many have failed. Some have succeeded. I would say it's going to be definitely personal for every single family, how they approach it, what their core beliefs are about technology, and how they kind of mix and mingle with school. But let's just kind of open it up. What was your initial, did you have an initial memory of, a struggle, a screen time struggle that came to mind, or maybe a particular solution that we tried?
So I'll say that, I may have told this, I'm sure I've told the story before, but what it draws to mind is when our youngest was probably around 5, maybe a little older.
Younger.
Yeah, he was around that age. He had become obsessed with a tablet-based game where you fed dragons and they would make, I don't know, gems or something.
Yes.
And it was like a clickbait type of game. and like
A tapping game.
a tapping game, right? Like, and just give us a little money. And of course, he didn't have any money, and so then you would have to just wait like the hours and hours to get it for free, right? That's how the scam works. So he had, it's an innocuous enough game. They're cute little dragons. There's no violence or
He
whatever.
had learned about this game from another homeschooling kid.
Yeah, I can't even remember the name of it, but he loved it. He was obsessed with this Dragons game, and he would not stop playing the Dragons game. And we tried to limit the screen time. We did all kinds of try to distract or redirect, or we were, our goal was to teach healthy, habits and start early on healthy habits of learning to put technology in the right place. But it was just too compelling. It was just too darn compelling because he had literally sunk, hours, untold hours into this, like gathering these various little adorable little dragon creatures. And one day I came home from work and I had had enough. And I killed his dragons. I deleted the app full bore. I've had enough of this. No more dragons for you. We've told you. Stop sneaking this dragons game. And that was a bad idea. I'm going to tell you. So what I'm going to tell you is
You
this.
didn't know how big of a deal it was going to be. Like I knew that he had already sunk his emotional investment in, and it was going to be a really big deal. And kind of in a,
I essentially killed his pets.
These were fit of temper.
Yes.
In a fit of temper, but also I think not really realizing like how meaningful of an experience.
Well, I didn't realize I was killing his beloved pet dragons.
I know.
Because I was just an annoyed dad. Like, so much of this. What are you doing? You can't figure it out. We're gonna have to, if you can't learn to, control your addiction, then we'll cold turkey it for you. And,
yeah, but we didn't talk about this ahead of time. It was kind of like.
Now, this is an anti-example. So the point I'm making isn't to say like, Aubrey, how could you have let this happen? You didn't let this happen. I just had come from work and was tired of it.
I know.
And it was a disaster because he had become emotionally attached to these little characters. He was a little guy, maybe 5 or so. And he was still in that part of the development where imaginary things can feel very real or be very real. Just like stuffies and puppets and things can. And these were essentially like his pets. He had spent so much time collecting them and controlling them and essentially just watching them sort of like flitter around while he waited for the time to pass that he had like bonded with them as though they were real. And when I deleted it and it wiped out all of his data. And
this actually happened in a very short amount of time. It wasn't like he'd been playing with these dragons for years. It was like a couple months in. Yeah,
it comes very quickly, right? So anyway, the point is that this was a bad idea. And I made amends to the best of my ability. I bought him a little stuffed dragon and a book about dragons, and I think he called them Golden Wings, and he knew that I had made the effort and he forgave me. And I had learned a lesson as well about not taking the most maximalist approach, even if that feels satisfying for the moment that you're doing it. Because these things are important. So that is the story, and it makes me think about this farming simulator that the father has introduced. Right? The boy, I'm going to go and project here that the boy it's not just about playing the game, like pretending to be a farmer. It's that it ties to his father and it ties to the characters within the game itself, whether they're just like tractors or whatever.
It says he loves all things vehicles and machinery.
Yeah, so he has an emotional bond. So that is kind of to set up the challenge. I think sometimes as parents, when we think about the technology, it can feel impersonal, right? Because as adults, we don't as easily make those emotional connections, although we can. I think it's easier for a younger child, in the same way it's easier for the younger child to accept that Stuffy is real. So it's a challenging thing to deal with pulling back because the emotional stakes are actually real. That doesn't mean you have to just let it go. Like not deleting the app wasn't it was, what I did wrong was the method. It wasn't the decision to say like you are addicted to this essentially, little son, and I need you are obviously not old enough or mature enough or ready to set the limits yourself. So I need as the parent to intervene. The mistake was I did it in the most maximalist way possible. One might say cruel.
All right. Well, this is, you don't need to beat yourself up about this. So I think that what Karina has tried is a couple approaches already. She's acknowledging that because her son is neurodivergent, he might be more inclined to be personally invested and maybe a little, what we would call a little OCD, a little obsessive about certain things, which is very, very common with children who have brains who work differently, and especially when those brains encounter technology, right? And so she wants to use a very compassionate approach that acknowledges that, like, this is a special thing that he gets to do, but that it's not all the time. And she's noticing already, and I think a lot of us, that the problem is, it's as much as we tried not to have tablets in our house during those young years of our lives, it was a cultural expectation that we have them. Everybody had them.
I don't know that we actually bought the tablets.
Family insisted that we have them. It just became part of our lives in a way that we weren't really sure how to navigate originally, and we were trying to be open-minded about it and say, you know what, maybe some good things could come of this early tablet use. But what we found was that regardless of good parental attention, these kind of addictions are endemic to the way our modern technology orchestrates the world for users.
Yeah, that's a really important point, right? And I think you hear it within the story too. Like the reality is, unless you live in a very specific kind of community, you are inundated with technology and media. And I mean, it's so much different now. This was 10 years ago, which doesn't seem all that long ago, but it's so radically different in terms of how technology is integrated into our lives. It's just moved so pervasively and so quickly to a very pervasive level, even beyond what we had in 2014 or 15, right? So there's a real expectation that technology will be a part of your life, that you will have phones and you will have tablets or computers and you will be aware of computer-based games. And I think it's during the pandemic when so much of the world closed, the technology became an important lifeline for some kids and adults to stay connected to family, to friends, to have some kind of a social. I know for our boys, it was important because it was the way they could still be in touch and hang out with their friends, and they were doing it online. They were playing online. Is it what I have preferred them to be playing together? Absolutely, no question about it. But it was the thing, and so because of the kind of the unique circumstances of the time that we live in, and the intensity of technologies, in the way it's embedded into our lives, and a piece that you've mentioned it here, but technology as it's designed today is centered on addictive qualities. It's designed.
Almost all games are designed to become addictive to the user.
So in the 50s, when TV was newer and there were children's programs, they had a real problem, like with how children were being manipulated or influenced by media. And eventually they took steps to try and resolve it. One of those outputs is things like Sesame Street and Mr. Rogers. If you haven't seen him give this impassioned speech in the 60s about children and goodness and so forth, and the result being like his children's program, which was local, being picked up and broadcast nationally for PBS, and him becoming kind of a symbol of what media could be. But this was a revolt, and laws were passed to protect children, to require certain things, like you couldn't advertise certain things during children's programming, and they had to follow certain rules. Technology has changed. We don't really sit in front of the TV and watch Saturday morning cartoons and stuff anymore. That era is long over.
No, it's available all the time.
It's available, and our laws and our culture, and sort of the champions of this sort of rethinking, like who's creating the Sesame Street of the internet. No one has done it yet, because Sesame Street, even though it is online, or you can have Daniel Tiger or Mr. Rogers on the computer, it's not an attempt to actually try to essentially undermine sort of the negative parts of technology. There has to be a real
Sesame Street
rethinking
also was
of
its time and
That's
designed for TV
That's right.
in that model. And I also have yet to see an innovative way to make technology developmentally beneficial to children.
Yeah,
and easy for parents to navigate. So, the struggle, I guess what I want Karina to know is that the struggle that you're having with the tablet is universal to tablets. And there is no perfect solution for it yet. These things are all designed to be addictive, legit. YouTube is full of a lot of nonsense, and it also has addictive properties to it. Most apps that are created both for adults and for children, including social media, are all designed to be addictive. They're designed to give you dopamine hits. And so as Montessori parents, she asked specifically from the Montessori approach. The Montessori approach would be for you to evaluate all of the technology that your child is exposed to and really think deeply about, is this, how is my child interacting with it? And is it in a helpful, beneficial way? Am I seeing through behavior like that there is an easy, non-addictive exchange with this technology? And I think that there are some apps that you'll see that are not addictive in the same way.
Sure.
And the one that I'm thinking of right now is like my all-time favorite tablet apps or phone apps is like the Sky app. Like it's literally, you can use the GPS technology in it to show it around the sky and see where Jupiter is, or where Saturn actually literally is, or where the sun is, according to where you are standing on Earth. And it's not a very exact, it's not exact, but it gives you enough of an impression of like, is the sun on the other side of the earth right now? Or is the sun over there? Or is the moon over here? Like it gives a pretty good approximation. Is it addictive? No, because it doesn't ding. It doesn't, invite. It's not a game. It's just a learning tool. The other one that I'm thinking of is like a maps program, a GPS maps program. Does it encourage you to come back and like entice you to play it? No, it's literally like, let's look at the street where we live. It's almost like looking at an atlas or, book, or, it might as well just be a book. It's not necessarily that interesting unless you're looking for information in it. Okay.
Yeah.
So there are apps like that aren't so addictive, that are, pretty much on the whole scale, like I think really great for children to be introduced to. How about Google Docs, like a place for you to actually voice text your stories into, or to model for your child how to type and how to write. Excellent use of technology, 100% not addictive, right?
Yep.
But when it comes to games like this, it's unavoidable that our kids are going to encounter them in one form or another. If we allow technology at all into our homes, as most of us do, our kids are going to encounter some games that do have addictive properties, and it is difficult to know how to deal with it. So if I were to go back in time and think about the dragon game situation and think about it from a Montessori perspective, first off, I wish I hadn't allowed it on our tablet, right? So that was like the first. I really wish I hadn't downloaded it at all. But given that we did, and it seemed benign at the time.
And I guarantee every parent has have some version of the Dragon app on
I know.
the child's
And,
tablet.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So, like, yes, it happens. But if I were to go back in time and I were to think, what would I have done? Okay. So we allowed the app onto the tablet. I could have, and at the time it wasn't as easy to do this because parental controls for tablets were really, really rudimentary. I mean, we almost had zero control aside from the password that we could put on the tablet. Like there were no parental controls back when our kids were little, but now you have parental controls or the ability to put controls on your tablet, and so. I would see, first off, if there is a way to technologically limit the amount of time or to show your child the amount of time that they have spent on the app and give them a certain amount of time on that app, either every single day or probably even better, like every other day. You don't have to allow access to the tablet every day. It could be like, this is Monday, and on Mondays you get to play your farming app.
So there are, depending on your device, but there is likely a way that you can very specifically now, with modern technology, limit or control by app specifically. So you want them to have unfettered access to it to do a drawing program. That's fine, but then you could say you get an hour a week of farming, or you get however the program allows you. And sometimes, if you, for example, on a Google device, sometimes it's just native to the device itself, and so that can be that could be a good way to set healthy limits. And honestly, that kind of goes to the dragon story. For me, is like I wanted him to develop these healthy skills on his own, and then I got frustrated with it,
but he wasn't ready to develop those skills
exactly
yet.
And so the good thing about, I think the lesson for me is there's an age when he would be or not be ready. It's also a better recognition now of just how incredibly addictive those things are. I did not realize just how emotionally attached he was to these characters. And now, of course, we have a lot more research and we have more understanding, and like, no, they're very, very real and impactful. So it's not realistic to just delete. It's also probably not realistic to always deny. And it's definitely not realistic to say, okay, you'll figure this out on your own. Like, we as adults still struggle to limit our use of technology when we get bored or tired or stressed. Like, we just scroll through a feed of some sort or another, right? So this is a time where, as the parent, you might use research to say, what is an appropriate amount of time for a child of this age to play on the app? Is it 30 minutes a week? Is it an hour a week?
2 hours?
Yeah, it's going to be partly up to you. As a family, I don't think the research, honestly, has really come to any conclusions other than
I disagree with you there. I would say, like, who cares what the experts say about technology? Everybody's
I don't disagree with that
this.
either, because I don't think the experts know. It's all, we've tried to decide.
Karina's family needs to decide, like, what is appropriate for them based on what they have seen from their child's behavior, and make it into a positive way. So I want to give, before we go on, because I know we've got to go on to our other topics this morning, but what I want to give Karina is a couple, like, really tangible things to do. One is, like, yes, utilize the technology that you have available to you in terms of parental controls. Really narrow down. I would zone down the apps that are on that tablet or whatever interface your child is using to minimal, just a few choices. All right. We tend to have apps that are just our tablets are just loaded with apps, right? So get them all out of there. Have picked the core 5 or 4 or 3 or whatever number feels good to you, and only have those on the tablet.
Device, yeah.
Okay. One of those could be like one of the more addictive kinds, like the farming kind, but then make like the other three apps as non-addictive as you can. You know, the Google Maps or the FaceTime with grandparents app, or, you know, those sorts of things. You get to decide what's on there. I would completely not have YouTube anywhere near a tablet these days. With kids, we used it with our kids. Technology was really different. YouTube's kids is a totally different beast. We could talk about that on another day. One of my very favorite low-tech apps for tablets is called Time's Up. I'm actually using it right now.
I know. I'm seeing.
I love this app. Not just for kids, but also for parents with ADHD or really anybody who wants to have like a visual timer of exactly how much time they have left. All right. So it's called Time's Up. It was created for this purpose so that kids could have a visual. It actually stays on the screen and kids can see the amount of, you can even either have it calculate the amount of time that they're using up to a certain point, or it can count down to the end. It's up to you, but it's visual and it can stay on the tablet. It's designed to stay up all the time so that it's always there and you can always like check in with your kid and let them know like, hey, are you being aware of your time? How much time do you have left? And so it can be helpful that way too.
And both of these go to sort of the underlying thing, which is to involve your child with this process so that they feel a sense of empowerment. Now, they're not always going to like the limits that you're going to set with them. In fact, they may dislike them quite a bit. But what's important is that they don't feel that this is completely punitive and arbitrary. That you as the parent are saying, you know, we as a family have decided that we want to make certain limits for ourselves as families, and as an adult I follow my limits too, and you need to follow your limits, and let's talk about what's reasonable, and then guiding them depending on the age. This little guy is 5, so you're going to do a lot more decision making for him. But as your child gets older, letting them weigh in, like how much is it a reasonable amount of time, and then asking them to hold themselves accountable to it, and if they can't, that's where the technology can help. So the technology can shut off the device. It can shut off the app. It can alert them. It can do all different things. And again, that would be as the child gets older through the teen years, because this isn't going to stop at 5, right? Giving them more and more information to try and build better habits, with the recognition that this stuff isn't designed to break your good habits. Like it is designed to make you do bad things.
So one more piece of tangible advice, my third piece of tangible advice. So first was use some kind of technology on your tablet to use those parental controls, make a firm decision and stick by it, and then allow the technology just to shut itself off. Number 2, try the Time's Up app or another visual timer on the screen. 3, Karina said that she'd tried doing it multiple, like throughout the day in like shorter amounts. I actually think that is more confusing for kids, and as she's seeing, it is leading towards more maybe tantrumy, whiny, upset, frustrated behaviors. So I would make it super clear. Maybe it's the first thing that he gets to do in the day, and then it's done. You know, and it's only for whatever time limit you decide, whether it's like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, like however long feels appropriate to you. It happens, then it's over, you know? And the second thing you could do is, if that is not working, because what we have noticed is that if we wait until the end of the day, we're like, oh, wait until daddy gets home, or wait until bedtime, then all day they're asking, is it time yet? Is it time yet? Is it time yet? When do I get to do, when does daddy get home? When, right? Then it just becomes this thing. So if you aren't comfortable with it happening every day at the very beginning of every single day, like during breakfast or after breakfast, then try like weekends only, try like just one day of the week or 2 days of the week or something very, very clear. And you need to have it visible for your child when it is that day, when that day is coming. And then refuse, like just say like, when that day is, it's not today, I'm not going to talk about it.
Yep.
You know, it's right there on the board. You know, it is, you know, tomorrow, and that's the last thing I'm going to say about it today. And I know that that can feel a little cruel at first, like I'm just not going to talk about that. But that's actually one of my record phrases that I used with the kids. Like, oh, I've already discussed that with you. I'm not going to talk about that anymore. You know, we can talk about other things, but we're not going to talk about that. And some repetition of that has helped to break the habit of the constant asking. So your child might need to go through a little decompression before they are regulated again after you implement.
You might notice some behavioral challenges.
Yeah, so expect the behavioral challenges to get worse during the scale back period, and then expect it to be much smoother in the long run. All right, I love that question. I'm so glad we got to take so much time today to talk about it.
It's a good one. Whatever you do, don't beat yourself up about it. Yeah. You're doing your best. It's very, very hard. Okay.
Okay, so it is time, friends, for us to put on some hats because we're going to take a couple minutes, and this is going to be kind of fast because I want to share that bone activity. But it's hats on for homeschooling time.
Hats on!
Hats on! So
right.
I have brought some hats for us.
Okay.
So first, I brought a hat for you.
Ooh.
And I brought a hat for me.
Oh, okay. Well, it's kind of a hat, I guess.
It is. It's totally a hat. All right. So while I'm putting on my cycling vibe and I'm thinking about, it's making me think about bicycling, which I have in the past really loved to do with our kids.
No, and this is making me think of Florida where I bought this hat. And
yeah.
Yes.
Yes. And what reminds you about our kids in Florida?
What do well, of course, going to the beach and being with family. We have a lot of family that lives there.
Yes, and our kids have been to Florida many, many, many times. Yeah.
Kayaking and, of course, Disney World. I knew what you were getting at. I was trying not to say it.
Of course. It's making those family memories, of course. So hats on to homeschooling. We actually, one of the reasons that we are homeschooling our kids is because we love spending time with them.
It sounds weird, doesn't it?
It is simple as that. You would be surprised, friends, how often I meet strangers on the street who then inevitably ask, like, why my kids are out during the day, or what school my kids go to, and then I'm like, we homeschool, and then almost inevitably they're like, I could never do that. Like, I just don't have it in me to spend all that time with my kids. Like, I need a break. I need a break too sometimes, obviously. But I consider that one of the biggest benefits of homeschooling is that we get to spend more time with our kids. We love our kids. It's okay to love your kids and to love spending time with them. There's just this mentality in our society that we've got to get away from our kids. And in fact, you hear it all the time at the end of summer from families who do not homeschool. They're all saying, like, I can't wait for the kids to go back to school so that I can get a break and I don't have to be with them all the time. But we actually feel the opposite. We love homeschooling our kids. We are sad when they go away from us, and when they're spending time with relatives or at camp or anywhere else that they might go. Even when other homeschoolers take our kids on special excursions, like there's a sadness because being with them has been a bringer of so much joy.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can't add really anything to that. It's a wonderful part of...
It's okay to spend time with your kids and to really enjoy doing it. And obviously it's not for everybody. If children just don't bring that joy and life and love into your heart, by all means, homeschooling is not for you. But for those of us who really just love hanging out with our kids and enjoying them as human beings, homeschooling allows us to spend more of their childhood with them?
Well, I mean, I guess it's your philosophy of life. So for me, it's about the family, and it's such an essential part of our humanness is our family structure and the people that we gather around us. And so, like, to not live your life sort of focused on your family and spending time seems sort of, I don't know, kind of pointless in a way. Like, it's just so much more fulfilling than any money or anything else, just to be together. So, yep, for sure, it is one of the great benefits of homeschooling, and you should give it a shot. Why not?
Give it a shot. See if you find the joy, and if spending more, if you're feeling all stressed out and you're thinking, God, I need a break, maybe start thinking, how can I spend time with my kid in a way that I can take, like, I kind of feel like children is like these fountains of joy, and if we stand close enough to them and we are in a receptive state, we can just like absorb some of their
now, does this mean you never get
love for life,
frustrated or fed up?
Of course not.
Of course not. Of course not.
Yes, and I do need time for myself.
Absolutely.
Obviously, all of us do. But yeah, like, I mean, I really feel like that is just one of the hugest benefits is that, I don't have to celebrate the fact that my kids are away. I can celebrate the fact that they're with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, I think I feel good about that. I like that my hat is here. Let me put my hat over here. Oh, wait, where'd you come from? No, I was just hopping around and I heard talking about family.
Oh, is that right, Mr. Bunny?
That's right. I have a very large family. I don't know if you've heard this, but rabbits actually have lots and lots of family members.
I have heard that.
You want to guess how many I have?
How many?
I have 327.
That is a lot.
I know.
That's a lot more than I was thinking.
Oh, I know. It's pretty amazing. And I also heard you talking about the computers. Mm-hmm. And, I understand that. It's very addicting. Yeah, I know. What is it for you that's so addicting? Oh, you're just going down one rabbit hole after the other. Okay. But actually, it's very easy for us to use computers down in the Warren.
Oh, is that right?
Why is that? Well, we always have plenty of access to mice. Oh. Well, what exactly do you do on the computer? Do you do something in particular? I just like to surf around and check out things. I'm a really big fan of carrots, as you might imagine. Mm-hmm. Oh, yes, I like carrots too. Yes, carrot.com is the place to go for all your carrot needs.
No.
I don't think we're sponsored by carrot.com. Oh, in that case,
do you even know where that goes?
Well, we're not.
We don't know where it goes.
Mr. Rabbit, are you giving us bad advice? Are you telling us to go to a website that we've never viewed before? Well, go. Mr. Rabbit. Mr. Bunny is always giving us trouble these days. I feel like we actually don't know where carrot.com goes. So do not go there. Instead, you should go to childoftheredwoods.com.
Childoftheredwoods.com.
Mr. Rabbit, isn't that what you meant to say? It is. He meant to tell us you to go to childoftheredwoods.com, and that's where you can find all the information about us. If you are new, you can go find out how our programs work, how to get our themes like the one we're about to show you, our foundational curriculum and our card system, which is really fun. And if you're wanting to kind of test drive it a little bit, we have a 7-day free trial. You just go there, there's an ad, you click it, no obligation. You get to try out the theme of the month plan for 7 days, join the community, get all the good stuff that goes along with that. And then if you love it, you can just keep going, or you could move up to the complete curriculum and get the whole set of cards, still printed home, DIY focus, very fun. We'll have our lower elementary curriculum fully revamped coming out in the next, about a week or so. So this is a great time to join if you have a 6 to 9-year-old. And it's a fully comprehensive curriculum. The way we designed it, it's really going to level you from 2 to 9. So It's a lot of fun. Check that out. You can email us at hello@charlotteredwoods.com if you have questions.
Yes, come on over and ask your questions. Well, friends, it is October, and as we have been talking about thus far, that is spooky season for us, and that means it's time to kind of shake and shiver your way into all the things that are spooky and mysterious that have to do with, I don't know, learning. So if you have a skeleton that's kind of hanging out on your front door, not saying anybody that I know has one, yeah, we do. We literally have one hanging on.
There's no mystery here, folks. We have the skeleton.
What better topic is there to explore than bones? Do a little bone study. I know that our members are currently deep down inside the cave theme right now, studying bats, all kinds of things that maybe glow in the dark and light up with a little bioluminescence. And we featured the blind cavefish activity actually from that theme last week.
Yeah.
But this week we are going to feature one of our activities that comes right out of our bone theme, which we did not last year.
I think it's
not last
2022.
October, but the October before that. So this, believe it or not, is one of our most popular themes ever. The study of bones keeps grabbing people. People want to come back over and over and over to it. There's so many fun little activities inside. And if you are a member of our complete curriculum, you get access to the entire theme of bone and all of the printables that come with it. But it's not just printables, it's also the complete scripted lesson plans, which help you to know what to do, how to extend those activities, and how to modify those activities for the little ones as well.
Yeah, and this has been a big hit since in the 2 or so years that we've had it out. People love. There's the parts. There's a full 26 bones to identify. There's a game called Skelly Says, which is sort of like Simon Says, but with the scientific names for the different bones. There's all kinds of really fun stuff, and there is the activity that we're going to show you right now.
Let's see, let me go to page 14.
14.
Here we go. This is the lesson is called Whose Bones Are These?
Yeah.
This is actually in our older format in our constellation themes.
Actually, we've updated it, so if
it has been updated.
Yeah,
right?
we just didn't reprint it, but yeah.
So let's see. All right. Oh, lovely. Look what you
Actually,
gave us.
here is
Actually,
the reprinted
you are correct. This has been fully reprinted.
Yeah, so you guys can see.
So here's the lesson itself.
Yeah, I'll take this one as well.
Oh,
so,
perfect. Yeah, whose bones are these?
Yeah, so you want to turn on the overhead light for us real quick?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you are a member
There you go.
at the complete level or the unlimited level, you can find this in the library. You can also find these lessons in the Lesson Explorer. You could just search for Whose Bones Are These and you'll get the step-by-step. And it's really fun. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to match a silhouette of an animal to the bones. And then we're going to put them under a label. And we'll just kind of show you a little bit here what this looks like.
Yeah, so if you want to kind of guide through the lesson a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. While bones alone can't tell us everything about how an animal once looked, they do provide a significant portion of the structure and shape of the body. See, that's your biggest problem there, Mr. Bunny. No bones. Studying bones is one way that scientists research the similarities and differences between animals, as well as how animals evolve and change over time. So in this activity, you're going to match animals and their skeletons. We have assigned this under the category of life science, but as you'll see, there's always other things. And part of the reason you're doing this is in the primary and in the lower elementary curriculum specifically, you're studying chordate class, things with a backbone, and you're having the child think about what makes, let's say, an elephant skeleton similar to a human's or a cat's, and what makes it different, and looking for those similarities and differences as the child explores the qualities of a Cord 8 class or other kinds of classification of animals. But in this case, it's about animals with bones. Okay, so what you're going to need are these classification labels.
Yeah, so I've
Aubrey's
got
cutting out a couple of them here.
labels are nice and cut out for us.
And then you're also going to need these cards. Now we have, I forget how many cards we include here. I think there are 12 different animals to match.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah, and it's a variety of kinds of animals. So you can see they're all mammals. But you could see one here is a dolphin shaped, and then there's a dog below that. So both land and sea creatures. Okay, so you're going to print these out and you're going to cut them out. Okay. All right, so you're going to first, while you're cutting this out, you're going to tell your child you want to look at some animals and their skeletons together. Okay, and we've intentionally chosen animals we anticipate will be familiar. You can review them together if you want to start. So we call for starting with the elephant card because it's pretty distinct, but given that we're just doing a little demo here and Aubrey has already cut out a beautiful dolphin and I think a dog, we will start with those. Okay, so first you're going to show the elephant card, or in this case, let's do our dog. Is that okay, or you want to do dolphin? Let's do dog.
Dog?
Yeah. So you're going to show the dog card, and you're going to read it, and then you're going to give a definition. Like, what is the dog?
Yeah, and you just do this orally. You just talk about it. What do you see here? Does this look like any creatures you have encountered before? And I don't know, it kind of looks like a little golden retriever or lab to me. But you might mention some of the dogs that you know in real life.
Maybe you have a dog that you could sort of pet or think about, maybe even start to feel the bones. Okay, and then you are going to invite your child to say the word, in this case dog, and then you're going to lay it on a mat, and then you're going to repeat with the rest. So in this case, you would then say, what's this one look like, or what's a dolphin? Now you're going to separate you're going to introduce all of the silhouettes, and then you're going to introduce the cards. You're going to have the living animal cards, and you're going to have on the other side a stack, as you can kind of see here in the picture, a stack of the skeletons. And you're going to then lay the skeleton cards on the map, starting at the top left and going down, and then you're going to take the stack of silhouettes and you're going to find the matches. So in this case, if this was at the top of it, and your child has the stack, you would be looking at this and say, no, I don't think so. Maybe this one? Yes. Yeah, that looks right. And they would set it next to it, and then they would move down. And then, after they've all matched, they're going to put the label. So again, the steps are you're going to introduce the cards with the silhouettes. Then you're going to separate them into two piles. You're going to make a line of the skeletons. You would use as many as your child is capable. If you have a younger child, you would probably use about half the cards at most. Older children, like an lower elementary child, would probably want to go a little further with this and start thinking more specifically about the bones that they see within it, because these are scientifically accurate. So, for example, here's our dolphin, and you can see here's the dolphin's backbone, and here's the dog's backbone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or here's you can see here's the limb, and the dolphin actually has one too, even though it's in the ocean.
This is actually just as fascinating, I think, for parents as it is for the kids. Unless you are a biologist or a zoologist, someone who's really into studying animals and their bones, maybe you learned a little bit about it in school yourself, maybe it's been a while, you will probably be pretty surprised and find it really fascinating to note the similarities and differences between these bone structures.
Yes, exactly.
So here I'm looking at the dolphin and I'm noticing like there are no back limbs here, but if we were to remove those back limbs, it doesn't look all that dissimilar, in structure from the dolphin itself, right? So these are really, really fun.
Here's a large cat. I don't remember this. Maybe a leopard.
Something else that
you can kind of see this, how similar that animal is to the dog.
Something else I really love about these is if you want to, you can take them right out of the card format and cut out for your child the skeleton. You have to do it pretty close, but this is what a lot of our members were doing. They were really actually loved the most about these cards. So you can just cut this out and then watch this magic once we superimpose it over.
And one of the things that you're doing here, actually, you might not realize, folks, is that this is also related to helping to learn to read, because you're doing pattern and shape recognition. And so this, even though, again, it's a life science activity, this is a great activity for pre-readers because you're getting them to recognize the shapes, which then, and not only that, but you have print itself. Yeah.
Right, so look at this. So if you did want to, after you have just matched card to card, if you wanted to take it in a different direction, you could cut out the skeleton itself, and then look how it just very easily is superimposed kind of over inside of that silhouette.
Yep. So it's kind
Pretty
of an
cool,
extension
right?
activity.
So yeah, a lot of our members actually cut all of these out and then made it a gluing activity where their child actually just glued the skeleton right onto the silhouette itself.
Yeah, and that's
Pretty
a
cool.
really fun way to kind of take the materials, and it's because it's all printed home. You guys can just print multiple copies to have one set of cards that are in the traditional, and then you have another set that is cut out, and you can even cut out the silhouette and the bones and match them together. There's kind of no limit to how you want to play with these cards or cutting them out. What I like about cutting out around it is it makes it even easier to sort of superimpose one over the other, and looking at it like, I wonder how that happened. And if you have a child in the second plane who's in the lower elementary program, the second grade story, and which covers the coming of life on Earth in detail, and then the origin of the chordate class, in 500 million years ago, all the way through the mammals and on till today. This is a great way to kind of bring that to life, because actually most of these creatures are things that are pretty recent. They're post-dinosaur, but crocodiles, for example, are ancient. They go back to the time of the dinosaurs. So looking at how you can have, or even looking at a dinosaur skeleton and seeing similarities between that kind of creature, which don't exist anymore, and the creatures we have today, or looking at a bird skeleton and comparing it to a dinosaur skeleton, because scientists think that birds are the remnants of dinosaurs.
Okay, I'm going to give a couple extensions to this activities because I know a lot of our members really want to make sure. I think they're really trying to make the connection in Montessori about how exactly we teach reading and writing.
Yeah.
And the way we teach it is not. It's not the way it's traditionally taught, and if you were to go into a regular classroom, although hopefully in any situation where you're teaching reading to kids, hopefully a multi-sensory approach is used. We want it to be a hands-on tactile experience in every way. But in Montessori, we actually integrate reading into all kinds of subject areas. And so this is one example I'm going to give our friends, just a few examples of some things that they could do to teach reading with these little cards that we have right here. So after they have done the matching, so obviously you could match a word to a picture. That's very common in Montessori, but what else can you do? I'm thinking I have a lot of words right here, and what could we do? We could write these with our movable alphabet.
Yep.
So here I have the word horse. Your child might write H, O, O, R, R, S.
Or
And maybe
HRS, yes, that's right.
HORS, and they might not have learned the silent E yet, and that's okay. If you can read it phonetically, horse, that's great.
Well, they might even just spell HRS if they hear the horse. They don't hear the yet.
How about pigeon? How might you write that with the movable alphabet phonetically? P. So there might be a P. P. I. An
So
I. J.
Pidge. J.
Could be a J.
Yep.
Pigeon. Pigeon.
So you might pigeon.
It could be just an N.
Yep.
Or it could be a UN.
Or an O-N,
which,
like pigeon. Pigeon.
no one says pigeon.
Maybe
if you're French, I don't know. But yeah, your child will be writing. So don't even worry about the spelling. You could literally just do this activity and have your child. What? You could have your child write the words with the movable alphabet phonetically, right? Another thing that you could do. Let's move past pigeon.
Pigeon.
Pigeon. Okay. Dog, obviously. Okay, that would be super simple. But let's move beyond the movable alphabet. Let's try syllables. How many syllables do we hear in the word dog? And we can clap it. Dog. There's just one. Or something else that I heard that you could do with syllables is like tap it on different parts of your arm. So dog would just be the shoulder. Right?
Tiger.
But how about giraffe? Giraffe. How about leopard? Leopard. Great. How about elephant?
Ooh. Elephant.
So often when we teach syllables, we're clapping them, which is great, but it's actually a little abstract. I really like the idea of tapping along the arm. I came across that one the other day and I was like, oh, why haven't I been doing that the whole time on? Yeah, you can see it linearly rather than just this abstract clapping. Like, I mean, we could just keep clapping and maybe the syllable connection isn't being made, but if you actually like touch a certain part of your body, or, I mean, you could do head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Like, wouldn't that be fun? Like, elephant. Right, with your knees, or just leopard, right? Just two. So yeah, you could see how long you could get. Maybe dog is just the head. I can see so many fun ways to teach that in a way that's just super sensory for kids.
I would want to. I don't know what you think about this, but I would want to. It also could be fun to kind of cut them apart where the syllables are.
Yes,
Like
that would be another
dolphin.
very Montessori approach, especially those of you with elementary kids or kids who are on the cusp of elementary. So here we have dolphin, and an approach in Montessori is we just cut the words apart. So now we have
Doll.
We have doll. Is it doll? Yeah, it's doll. Dolphin, 2 syllables.
I want you to say it with just the D-O.
Dolphin. No, it doesn't work. Okay.
Dolphin.
Pigeon. I'm going to cut off the and we have pigeon. Pigeon. Right, pigeon.
Now do this one.
Okay. Horse. Don't get to cut it at all. But how fun is this too? What if we were to mix these up? What if we were going to say like
Dolgen
or piffin? How fun would that be to do with a kid?
Totally. And that's actually that kind of fun wordplay is totally what you want to do.
Crocodile. I'm going to cut off the croc. Cut off the co. And now I have dial. Crocodile, 3 of these. And now I'm going to mix them up. Instead, I'm going to take that pith from pigeon. Now what if I have picodile?
Picodile, I like that one.
Or picofin.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah.
What are you going to do?
I'm going to do...
Dalcofin.
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 How about this one?
Dalcodile.
Dalcodile. Oh, I like that name.
Yeah, friends, this is teaching your kids how to read. Okay? Yeah. In fact, these nonsense words are a key component for your child to become not just a proficient reader, but a very successful reader. It's teaching them really important, successful reading strategies.
You'll find this kind of inventive language and words within the curriculum, for sure.
Yes, and plus it's fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I just want to keep going with the whole thing, and I'm sorry we don't have time for the whole thing. But friends, if you have access to Bone and you're a member of our community,
So that
you
would
could
mean
go,
complete curriculum or unlimited, or if
Unlimited.
you have a Legacy Constellation account.
right? You have access to Bone. Go and download it and get this activity and come play this little fun syllable word game with us.
During spooky season, your kids are going to be seeing spooky bones. Introduce them to
Yes.
some realistic bones. It's a great way. We talked about that
I know.
last time when we talked about, I think, spiders and how to desensitize people by giving them scientific knowledge. This is a great example of how you can do that.
I just had another fun idea. What if we were
Oh, no.
to, I know, oh my gosh. I am just so full of ideas. I told our members the other day, I was like, I am not full of 100% follow through, friends, but I just am abundant with ideas. So come to me if you need ideas. I have them. Okay, what if we were to take these and break them apart and then the kids were to match them
Oh, that's a
together? I think this
great
might be really, really
idea.
difficult if you were to get into it. I can't do it with the dolphin, but because I cut it out already.
But no, but you get a sense here.
You can kind of imagine what it might look like
look
if
at
I
that.
were to
Yeah, show the
combine
overhead.
them.
Overhead.
Oh, on the overhead. Okay.
Isn't that fun?
Yes, that is so fun.
Yeah, this reminds me of those little books that you used to sometimes find where it's like the 3 panels and you would flip them and
Yes.
kind of like the hair is different from the mustache
It
or
also,
something.
it really shows how similar these skeletons are. Like, how fascinating would
Here's
it
a
be
bear.
to try to combine some of these?
Bearodile.
So yeah, this is a way that you could make this activity, which initially is just matching, into something that's actually quite much more difficult for your child. So if you're looking for ways to extend these lessons, I always have friends who write me and are like, but your activities say that they're from 2 to 9. What if I have a 9-year-old? Like, are these activities just going to be too easy? The answer is no. Like, if you have a 12-year-old, we even have members out there, I know some of them are watching right now with teenagers, and these kinds of activities are still can be extended to be fun and interesting. And in fact, the older your kid is, the more independent they can be, like setting up their own work and reading and following the directions.
Yeah, an older kid will come up with the idea, like, what if we cut these letters apart and then, right?
Yeah.
And that's exactly and that's a great thing about having a kind of the DIY approach that we focus on, because you have access to reprint these. You don't have to worry about breaking your materials, just have another copy. Unlike if you had bought it and it was mailed to you, and like now you got to be precious with it.
Yeah, no, you can print several copies of these. Our members tell us that it is well worth the price of the printer. Just get a good printer and lean into it. If we were to print these materials for you, we've been asked several times, like, can you just print them and ship them? We are making so many materials for you. These booklets are so rich and have so many extensions to it. We're making so many cool cards that it just wouldn't be financially reasonable. It's much more reasonable for you just to buy a printer and to print them out at home.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well,
Well.
that wraps us up for today. Just imagine how much fun you could be having with Bones. And we are celebrating those of you who are having fun with Cave.
Absolutely.
this week.
If you want to be part of the cool kid club that's having fun with Cave and maybe even Bone and about 35 other themes, plus the whole Montessori lower L and foundation and primary curriculum, join us over at Child of the Redwoods. Come to our website, childoftheredwoods.com, to learn more about how to join and what you get at the different levels. And if you have any questions, just reach out, hello@childoftheredwoods.com, or use our chat feature to reach out in real time.
Child
Of.
No?
Of
the Redwoods.
Oh, wow.
Bye, friends.
Bye.